Welcome into Showtime College Football. I'm your host, Chase Davidson, with my favorite co-host, Chase Sned, as always. And we are coming to you guys ahead of week 11 of college football. We are so far through the season, and it's just crazy. We are even at this moment right now. I cannot believe that the college football landscape looks like what it looks like currently. We have our playoff rankings that came out on Tuesday, important day for the college football world. And we also have a special guest on today. We have Sky
Hell yeah.
from TheFieldRush.
How we doing? Thanks for having me, man.
So excited to have you on here. This is our first ever, we're going to call it our celebrity guest picker. Yes, Sky, you are a celebrity at this point in the college football world.
Definitely not, but I'll take it.
But we're excited to have you on. We're going to be doing our pick'em today. He's going to give us his full picks, and it's going to be good. And got an exciting week ahead of us. Week 11. So many spreads are so close. And me and Chase, of course, afterwards will be giving you our playoff rankings somewhat reaction. We did a live on IG last night or 2 nights ago and did a few of those, which was great. But we'll be giving you more of a concise, full reaction to the playoff rankings as we've had a day or two to, brew. Our thoughts have gotten together. So, Chase, you're kind of the guy for this. You're the pick'em guy. Why don't you?
I'm the pick'em guy.
Give it to
All
us.
right. Yeah, we kind of just go in order of where they occur in the day. The first slate we got number 4 Miami going to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, they had that Florida State. Can't really call an upset anymore, but they've had some good wins here and there to where we threw this one on. Personally, for me, I think Miami's offense is just too good for Georgia Tech. I'm sure Georgia Tech will score, like we've talked about. Miami just doesn't have the best defense, but I just don't think Georgia Tech can score more than them.
Yeah, that's odd. I mean, we talk about in our week 10 reactions, Miami is all offense, no defense, with all the respect. It just seems like that defense hasn't really done anything. I mean, this one, I don't know if we'd normally pick this game to be on the slate, but it's on the slate. Miami's minus 11 in this game. I mean, I'm going to be going with Miami here. Georgia Tech did have flashes, of course, early in the season. We were kind of all worshiping Georgia Tech, Haynes King. I do still believe a little bit in Georgia Tech. They have some talent, but it is at Georgia Tech. But I just don't know if they beat them at noon local time. I just don't see. I think Miami outscores another opponent this week. I'm taking the easy road here. I'm saying Miami outscores them.
That's fair. All right, it's me.
It's you.
All right. Okay, so I don't have too much to say, but Miami. Okay, this is one of the teams. I know they're number 4. I know they're undefeated. They're 9-0. I personally think they should be 8-1. Given the Cal game, I'm a big Pac-12 guy. I know they're.
Oh yes, sir.
I know they're not in the Pac-12 anymore, but they should have one loss. Although that doesn't take away from the fact that Miami's going to win this game. I honestly see them covering. Every game that I've watched of a Miami game, they'll do either terrible or very decent in the first half. And then all of a sudden, Mario Cristobal just has, I think, just the best halftime speech of all time. In every single game, they pull it out in the second half. So I think I don't really see them trailing this game. So I'm going to say they're going to cover. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I fully agree. I think they've had a lot of first half hiccups, and they've had very many. The thing about Miami is they've had not a strong schedule, but not only have they not had a strong schedule, they've had many games that have been way too close. I mean, anyone who watched the Duke game knows that game was very close. The box score doesn't show it, but that was a close game.
But I mean, anyone who watched knows it went back and forth. Like Miami went up 14, Duke went up 11, then Miami finally pulled back ahead to where it was just like a game of runs. And I kind of feel like that's how a lot of Miami games are.
Yeah, I do have to give Miami credit. I'm saying they have no defense, mainly because they haven't played that many great teams, great offensively that I feel. But their rush defense is number 10 in the country, allowing rushes per game, and so rush yards per game. I mean, so they do got something, but I just when I see Duke put up 40 on them fairly easily, I don't know. And the Cal game was a high scoring. Virginia Tech, when they got crazy last minute score, not score to win. And it was just, I don't know. I can't really trust the defense right now. I do think they'll win though.
Yeah. All right. So Miami across the board. Moving on to the next game. Kind of a big one. Big game, especially for the home team. We got number 3 Georgia traveling to the SIP. Ole Miss, number 16. Georgia's only favored by 2.5 in this one. Yeah. Very interesting. We saw Ohio State jump Georgia in the playoff rankings. Chase, I want you to start off for this one. Give us your take.
I have a lot of thoughts about this game. It's just how I asked this in the last podcast with Carter Cast, and I asked him specifically, but I've been thinking about that. I've been pondering that question over the last few days, just pondering, praying about this question. Is this the same Georgia team that we've seen for the last 3 years where they can, when it's a big game, they turn it on and they're going to cook by 60? Like, is this the same Georgia team that can have a 1-score game against Georgia Tech last week of the 2022 season and then go just obliterate everyone in the playoff? Like, is this the same team? And I'm still contemplating it. I don't know. Yeah. This team does seem more vulnerable than the other ones. They've had more close games than the other ones have had. They've had more of those. The Mississippi State game, Mississippi State scored way too many points. Last week, Florida, Carson Beck threw too many interceptions. He's been throwing tons of interceptions despite playing relatively well. The interceptions are just not well. And I did hear this, credit to Josh Pate. It's not like he's getting pressured, Carson Beck. It's not like he's getting hammered and throwing these picks after getting hit. His O-line right now is top 10 for protection, like pressured passes. Mm-hmm. And so Carson Beck's just making bad reads. It's just straight up. It doesn't seem like it's coaching. It doesn't seem like it's wide receiver route running. It just seems like he's just making fairly bad reads. No, with all due respect, I couldn't do any better. But I don't know if I trust Georgia for the first time in a while. I just don't know if I trust them to do it. I think I'm going to be taking Ole Miss in this game. I think they pull off an upset. They have changed the way they're playing from previous in the season. I wonder if that Kentucky loss that Ole Miss suffered actually gave them the wake-up call they needed. Now, they have lost since then to LSU in a tight game in Death Valley. But maybe they're better than we thought. I don't know. I feel I'm not confident on that pick right now. I don't know. That's all I'm going to say right now. And Georgia needs to establish the run game. We'll see if they can do that.
That's fair.
All right, Sky, give us your take, celebrity.
I'm going. So, for me, I like you guys' points. I think with Georgia, I just hopped off. We have our damn bets IG live that we go over.
Whoa, watch the language, Sky.
I'm sorry, rush that damn deal. Sorry, fellas. We have these picks that we go over, right? We were talking about Georgia, and we're specifically talking about Carson Beck. So Carson Beck, I picked the over for him on 0.5 of an interception. In the last, I believe it's 5 games, he has 11 interceptions. Yeah. Like what you talked about, like he's dropping back and he's not really getting pressure. He's just making bonehead mistakes. And comparing that, a little contrast here, Jackson Dart just came off his best game he's played in his life. I think, I'm not sure about his high school passing yards, but it was 500 and what? Do you know? It was it was like 504.
It's 515 yards for 6 touchdowns. 25 for 31, by the way. It's not like he was passing the whole game.
0 picks. That's 80% completion rate. So that's nuts. So we'll see. I worry with Lane Kiffin with like really big games. He's had a tendency to lose those games. This is a must win, obviously for both teams, but a must win for Ole Miss. They have to win out. So I think there's going to be a little more urgency for the Rebels than there is the Bulldogs. So I'm going with Ole Miss.
Oh yeah, it seems like the hot pick right now is Ole Miss. It still takes balls to make that call. I mean, it's no easy call.
No, it's not. There's gonna be a field rush.
I'm completing the sweep across the board with Ole Miss. You guys hit all the points I wanted to say. Jackson Dart is playing pretty incredible this season. You know, he had a couple bad games with Kentucky and LSU. He played great. It was kind of the defense that let LSU back in it. But like you said, Carson Beck, both of you, he just makes some dumb throws. Like some of these throws, like some of his interceptions, I'm like, what are you doing? Like you have all the time in the world, even to scramble, just get a few yards to where, compared to like Florida, I think if he makes those mistakes, Ole Miss will definitely capitalize off them and score to where I'm taking Ole Miss too. I think, especially if Carson's throwing the way he has been, Ole Miss could just go up, 14 super quick in this game. So I'm taking Ole Miss as well.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Moving on to, America's team kind of right now. We have Army, number 25, going to North Texas. Army only favored by 5.5. I mean, this is kind of a under the radar game, but who you guys taking? Sky, you can start us off with Army, North Texas. Army, kind of have to win out if they want a playoff chance.
I love Army. So what did you say the spread was? What was it?
5.5.
5.5. Okay.
For the troops,
there's do you guys know if Bryson Daly's playing this week? Because I think he was out last week.
I can check that real quick.
We have no idea. Sure. If they win, or actually, let me backtrack. Without Bryson Daly, it can be difficult, but either way, they're getting the win. I'm not going to talk about this too much. I think Bryson Daly leads the nation in rushing touchdowns as a quarterback.
They do have.
I think he's tied with Genty right now. Yeah.
Okay, which is insane.
As a quarterback, he probably does lead that.
Insane. Yeah.
Sure. That's absurd.
That's absurd. So I'd go with Army either way. But I don't know. Bryson Daly, if he plays for sure, I think either way they'll cover. But
yeah.
I'm right there. I mean, I don't think anyone's really going to pick against Army almost ever, just because. How do you like live with yourself after picking against Army? Like, how do you even do that?
Hey, come on. Can't do that.
Yeah. Like, how could you even live anymore? But I will say, I do think that this is a fun game because North Texas always tends to be kind of a good G5 team. This year, they're not looking as hot as we want them to be.
Yeah.
But, they're 5-3, 2-2 in the American. Like, they're not super flashy. But the thing for me is their defense isn't even that good with what they've been playing with. Their stats are just not. I mean, I have not watched much North Texas football. I apologize so far this year. But it's just somewhat abysmal what these guys do on defense. They're ranked 120th in almost every defensive stat I'm looking at. There's a few they're jumping up. I mean, looks like maybe fourth down conversion percentage. They're good at defending that, but other than that, it looks like there aren't many fourth downs because they're not stopping people.
Yeah.
And so it looks like this defense, and especially their rushing defense when you're playing Army, really all that matters is rushing defense. They're below 100 in all stats on rushing defense. And so, I mean, I don't really see them stopping Army. I don't think Army's going to get stopped till they play Notre Dame. Not saying they will be stopped, but I think that's when the conversation is going to be started.
Please.
Please.
All right.
I mean, I have nothing against Notre Dame, but I mean, there's a lot of people mad that Notre Dame is sitting in the playoff right now. They did beat Texas A&M, but there's a lot of people hoping Army kicks them out. And maybe Army has a chance to get Boise State's G5 spot, or maybe they just get at large and everyone loses.
That'd be insane.
That'd
be crazy. All right, moving on to
did you make your pick?
Interesting. I said an Army.
Okay. Yeah. And we already knew it, but
yeah. Interesting pick. Interesting game. Got number 23 Clemson heading to Virginia Tech. My Hokies. I've been on the Hokies all season. I still am.
At one point, we thought this was going to be the game of the year, bro.
We were saying this is the ACC championship dictator to play Florida State, and
this will be a top 10 matchup. I repeat, this will be a top 10 matchup. Mark my words.
Now this game is at 1:30, which I think helps Clemson a lot. But I still like Virginia Tech in this one. Clemson has shown any remotely decent team they struggle against, and they've lost to Georgia and now Louisville. And I think Virginia Tech's going to take advantage. I know Clemson's coming off a loss and going to try to bounce back, but give me the Hokies. Give me the Hokies. I like
the Hokies.
This one.
Oh, that's a table pound. Oh man, that's a nice one. I mean, they're only favored by 6.5, which I find actually fairly wild. That means Vegas. I feel like this game was going to be more like a 9-10 spread. I'm surprised that they're giving Virginia Tech that much credit for what they've done in the past few weeks. They have not looked fantastic. I mean, their best win is Georgia Tech at home, I'd say. I mean, probably 21-6. Boston College at home was great.
Killed that game. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they lost to Syracuse last week only by a touchdown. And they only lost to Miami by a last-minute shot. They lost to Rutgers by 3. They lost to Vanderbilt in overtime. When is this team going to catch a break? They have only lost in one-score games. I just realized this. They've only lost in one-score games.
You, dude.
Nebraska.
Holy crap.
Nebraska.
Yeah. 2022 Nebraska called. Or was it 2021? 2022?
Yeah.
Where they lost they lost 7 games with all combined into 8 points. It's insane. Anyways, this team is feeling like this where their record is not what it says they are. Your record shows what you are, what you really are. It's this team might be better than 5-4. I really hope we can see that. Clemson has folded against every decent opponent they've played. Georgia and Louisville. Really, the only two other teams, the only teams they played that were decent, those are the only two teams. Other than that, they played pretty abysmal teams. I mean, Wake Forest, Virginia, hey, a little decent. Florida State, Stanford, NC State, App State. I mean, it just was not a good schedule. And so I do think Clemson is prone to the upset, and I will be taking as well the Hokies.
Let's go. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, I'll take the Hokies in this one.
Awesome.
It's going to be hard to pick against them.
That's fair. All right,
Sky, who you got?
I know this is insane to say. I'm 50-50 on this. So I'm going to have Siri flip a coin here. So Clemson is heads, Hokies is tails. Siri, flip a coin. And then I'll explain why.
All right.
Flip a coin. Tails. So I'm going with the Hokies.
Let's go, Hokie Nation.
Hokies. I'm going with the Hokies. I was kind of leaning that way. I know I said 50-50. The reason why it's going to be at Lane Stadium, yeah. It's Lane Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
A little Enter Sandman. You said it's at 1:30?
It's at 1:30. So it does help Clemson a little bit. So I guess 3:30 their time. The sun will be.
Oh, so it'll be evening in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it'll be evening. It's late in the year now. The sun will be going down.
This is one of the things. So I was just talking about Tootin. Is it Brayshawn? It's Brayshaw. Brayshaw Tootin. He's unreal. I think he had plus 250 rushing yards against Boston College. That's just one game. But I believe in them. Clemson's rush defense right now is, I'm going to pull it up. I believe it's 59th in the nation. For Clemson, that's not great. That's not great at all. So if Virginia Tech's going to win this game, I think they could win it on the ground. We'll see about that. But Hokies, I'm going with the Hokies. I like the upsets here. Me personally, I always go for upsets. That's when field rushes happen. So no matter
that's in your name. That's in my
name, So I'm going with the Hokies.
Do you think they would rush the field if they beat Clemson at home?
I don't know.
At this rate,
I guess I don't know.
I feel at this point in the season, people are just rushing for any upset.
Yeah, might as well go do it.
Yeah,
and I feel because it's not. I don't think if Clemson. I think if they were unranked or ranked right here, they might do it just because it's the name. I mean, they've been playing Clemson for a long time. Haven't beaten them in a while.
For sure.
They might.
Yeah.
I could see him doing it. I could see him rushing. We might have a field rush on our hands.
Yeah, we might have to. We might have one. We'll see.
Might have multiple. I mean, Ole Miss. I mean, they're definitely rushing.
Oh, yeah.
If they win. That'd be awesome.
Oh, for sure. All right. This game, I think, honestly, this might be one of my favorite games this week. We have number 20 Colorado pushing for a late playoff spot, a Big 12 championship on the line, going to just beat Iowa State at Iowa State, Texas Tech, going to Lubbock, Texas. Colorado's favored by 3.5. Chase, I want to hear your opinion on this one. I know you probably have some stats pulled up. Let's hear your take on the Buffs versus the Red Raiders.
Well, here's the thing. All I'm saying is that Texas Tech has something to play for right now. It's not out of the question. Texas Tech's only 4-2 in conference play. You guys remember they started 3-0 in conference play. Mm-hmm. This team is I would say Texas Tech could win another game like this and probably be ranked next week. Mm-hmm. So it's not like Texas Tech is some middle-of-the-age team that's trying to make a bowl. This team has higher aspirations, I think, than a bowl game. I mean, if everything goes crazy enough, they are still in line for a Big 12 championship berth. It would be a far stretch, but they are just as much in the race as Kansas State is. So maybe that'll help you adjust with what you're thinking about Texas Tech. But that being said, and remind me, is this game is being played in Lubbock, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting. The tortillas will be flying.
Throw them.
This tortillas will be flying. Do you think this would be a field rush? If Texas Tech beats number 20 Colorado, do you think they rush the field?
I'll never say no. Yeah.
Yeah, why
I'll
not?
never
Why
say
not,
no.
bro?
I
Why
guess
not?
so, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
honestly, I don't know about it. It's a hard game to pick because I feel like Colorado is a hard team to pick right now because I know this team has gotten better, and I know college football teams get better. You guys know how I feel about this.
Mhm.
And I'm not at all talking about resume. I'm talking about how they're playing right now because I'm picking the game. I don't care about rankings right now. But that Nebraska loss that Colorado suffered, still, every time we talk about them, it's just like, boom, right in the back of my mind. And it was so bad. I was like, this Colorado team cannot win an FBS game this year. After losing that, it was so abysmal. Now, I will say this. Joel Klatt said this week. Great teams fix mistakes. And I think they have fixed a lot of mistakes. Now, here's the problem. Colorado still is abysmal running the ball, which just means this team is going to be inconsistent. I don't care how good you are at throwing the ball. If you cannot run the ball, your team will be inconsistent at some point.
Yeah, you can be balanced.
You got to be balanced. It doesn't matter. You can be so good at throwing the ball, and it takes one game, and you can't throw the ball. Shedur's a little rattled by maybe a loud crowd or a few sacks. You never really know. And speaking of that, he has been getting sacked a lot. 108th in the nation in pass protection. Colorado is, so not doing so hot there. But I'm just saying, I wonder if this is the game because they finally received a lot of hype. Like this last 2 weeks, they had a bye week last week. Colorado finally got that hype. All of a sudden, they're back. It's like what we were last year, the first week 4 of college football. Oh my gosh, Colorado versus Oregon. This is going to be so good. This team is awesome. I think that there's going to be some stuff. I think it's going to get to their heads a little bit. I'm not saying Colorado isn't necessarily a worse team. I think they're a better team than Texas Tech, but give me the Red Raiders.
Wow.
Give me the Red Raiders.
Wow.
Home team.
Good time.
All right, Sky. Are you picking the upset in this one too?
I'm ready. I usually would, but in this case, I'm not. So, kind of my reasoning. I love watching Colorado just because, like, usually when I watch him, I'm gonna watch like an instant classic. Like that Colorado Baylor game was so fun to watch. Like that, I love that.
Or Colorado Kansas State was another crazy game.
Even though they lost, that was still a crazy game.
Good games. I think Colorado's gonna pull this out. I think this is gonna be an overtime game. I don't know. I have like a vision of overtime going on, and then Shedur wins, and then he does a little wrist flex.
I'm saying, I think you're exactly right. I don't think there's no way this game is more than one score. There's no way.
I don't.
This game is one score game.
I think. Yeah. I also talked about this earlier, but I think Taj Brooks is going to light up Colorado's defense. He's going to be unreal. I think he's going to keep Texas Tech in the game to the point where, of course, they're going to go to overtime. I could see like Colorado being down a possession and coming down the field with like 2 minutes left and tying it up, and then a little overtime. Colorado wins. Pretty similar to Baylor. I've got to just talking about the Baylor game right now, I guess. But
I will add. I'm going to add to my pick a little bit.
Yeah,
I think this is a crazy shootout, and my Texas Tech pick is more playing on emotions. I do think Colorado's a better team here. Texas Tech's pass defense is abysmal, so that'll definitely help. But I do think there's a certain point where the well will run dry, and they're going to miss a third down pass. It's going to come down to a third down conversion. I think Texas Tech wins at home. But I will say, to all your credit, yes, this will be a crazy close game. Anyways, Chase, you get yours.
Yeah, no, you guys literally took everything out of my mouth. Texas Tech, 15th worst defense in the nation, giving up 34 points a game. And Colorado, as we know, is scoring about 33 a game right now. It's 36, actually. It's 20th in the nation. But part of me, I want to take the Raiders, Red Raiders in this one too. Oh, me and Chase are both picking the upsets.
The line's 3.5, 3?
3.5, yeah.
3.5.
And the reason for it is mainly one, it's at home, and because Texas Tech scores 2 possessions, 14 more points at home than on the road, and they also give up about 5 less points than they do when they're on the road. To where I'm going to take Texas Tech in this one, like you said. I think it'll be overtime or like a 49-45 game by the end of the fourth quarter. Like zero defense involved in this one, but I like the Red Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's validated or it's warranted. It is warranted. I have been one of those people that have contributed to this, but I think Colorado has gotten a lot of talk about the playoff. It's been 2 weeks, and I think they've gotten a lot of talk about the playoff, and I think that is going to hurt them. I think that will hurt them to a degree because now all of a sudden, number 20 Colorado is this. 3 weeks ago, we were like, yeah, this team's going to be slightly better than last year. They'll go 8-4. Now it's like, oh my gosh, this team can make the playoff. The path is there. Guys, the path is there. It's like, okay, all right. They got to win every game now and still rely on Iowa State losing. So, like, let's just, like, pump the brakes a little bit. But I do like them, and it's fun to watch. I will say this game will probably be one of the better games of the day. But I did want to give a stat. I'm just looking at Texas Tech's raw schedule. They have not let up fewer. Their defense has allowed no fewer than 21 points. They've allowed at least 21 points in every game they've played.
Dang.
Basically, this is going to be a shootout. I mean, literally, Colorado, unless they shoot themselves in the foot, they're going to score almost every possession. It's going to come down to who doesn't score first.
Yeah.
I mean, they allowed 51 against Abilene Christian. They allowed TCU to score 35. They allowed Baylor at home to score 59. I mean, this defense is not good. So, I mean, the more I'm talking about this, the more I'm like, dang, I don't know about this pick. I don't know. But
yeah,
I'm going to stick with the Red Raiders, but
barely. It's college football. You never know.
You never know.
I mean, literally anyone could be anyone. So,
yeah. All right.
Home field advantage.
Next game, if it was AP, it would be ranked, but playoff left them both out. Kind of a super underrated game. South Carolina at Vandy. I think this is
good pick.
I think this is one of, honestly, probably one of my favorite games this week. South Carolina on the road is favored by 3.5, and I think I'm going to take the Gamecocks in this one as well. You know, like I said last week, they were due for an upset. South Carolina is just a great football team. Yeah, they have 3 losses. Look at those 3 losses and who they played. Kind of adds up. Besides the Ole Miss one, I think it was by a combined like 4 or 5 points. And I like the Gamecocks in this one. I love Vandy. Don't get me wrong. You know, America's team. It's fun to have these Vandy, Army, Navy be good, but I like SC in this one.
Fair.
Sky, you got it.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. So I love Vandy. With Army, I think they're America's team. Both of those teams are America's team. With this though, is I really could see Diego Pavi being limited by South Carolina's defensive line. They're insane. Their
crazy.
Line is insane. Dylan Stewart. He's one of the best freshmen I've ever seen. Defensively, defensive line wise. He's a killer. Is it? Oh God, what's his name? Is it Kyle Kennard? Yeah, they have Kyle Kennard as well. Also insane. So those two scare me. In general, they have an insane defensive front. I think that alone can win them a game. I love Shane Beamer. I'm a big Shane Beamer guy. I love
Beamer ball.
So hell yeah, I love Beamer ball. So I'm gonna go with the Gamecocks. Although I do love Vandy. No shade to them.
No, but like you said, you know, we saw Marcel Reed go off, you know, for Texas A&M, and then South Carolina kind of just shut them down to where I don't think Pavia will be able to do anything more than Texas A&M did. To where, kind of is adding on to your point. Chase, what's your take?
Yeah, and you guys said a lot of what I wanted to say. I mean, we're going a lot of the same picks here. I'm surprised we have 3 of us and we're still agreeing on so many picks. You guys are saying exactly what I wanted to put down. I will say South Carolina with that defensive front, they have one of the best rush defenses, and part of that is containing quarterbacks. One of the best rush defenses in the country, and so it's just like they get the 4th most sacks in the country. And Diego Pavia, what does he do best? Now he's good at improvising. He's been very well balanced, but what does he do? His legs are what have gotten those huge first downs against Alabama, those huge first downs against Virginia Tech, those close games they've had. It's been Pavia sneaking, even designed runs. Just his legs he's very shifty and elusive. And I do think South Carolina at least limits that. I'm not saying they're going to completely stop him, but I think they limit it enough. I think the Gamecocks are due for a top 25 ranking. I'm surprised they weren't ranked. I think they're a much better 3-loss team than Louisville. Louisville does deserve to be in the conversation, but I think South Carolina does deserve their flowers, and I think they'll get them this week.
Yeah,
South Carolina.
Perfect.
Great game though. Unranked game that it's a good game.
We are all following the same trend, but I think these next two is where we'll start to differentiate. All right, we got a game in Death Valley this week, 5:30 p.m. Utah time, so 7:30 Eastern. Bama goes to LSU, another huge implications. LSU only has one conference loss, so they're right there for the conference championship, but Bama, they kind of have to win out to make the playoff now with the 2 losses. Bama is favored by 3. Sky, let's hear your thoughts. Let's hear your thoughts about this one.
I'm going with LSU here. I think is it what time is it up? You said
it'd be 6:30 in LSU, so it's a night game. Night game in Death Valley.
Yeah. So I believe hasn't Brian Kelly only lost one night game at Death Valley?
Oh, I don't even know that. I don't know that stat.
No, I don't even know that stat.
I'm pretty sure. That's coming off the dome. I'm not sure if that's right, but
they did beat Bama 2 years ago at night. So
yeah, so that it is hard to go into the Death Valley and win a game. In general, when they're the home team, I just don't see them losing this game. I love Kalen DeBoer. I'm a big Kalen DeBoer supporter, big Pac-12 guy. What he did at Washington was awesome. I'm a big believer in Garrett Nussmeier. Nussbus is awesome. He's awesome. I went to the USC LSU game, and I was just really impressed with Nuss. That atmosphere was insane, and that atmosphere at Bama LSU is going to be even more insane. Of course, it's a home game, but either way, it's a lot of pressure, and I think he'll handle that just fine. So, I don't know. Jalen Miller could pop off that game. I just don't see Bama to win this game. And I'm kind of like glad about it because I want Alabama fans to understand like what it's like to live on planet Earth for a little bit. But I think something for them that they need to realize is like Nick Saban, his first year, didn't go win a national championship. He went 7-6. Mm-hmm. So like you're gonna have growing pains. Like I think Bama's gonna be fine. They're gonna be totally fine. I just don't see them win this game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. LSU. Mm-hmm. All right. I've got a few thoughts about this game. This game has been really hard for me to decide. Probably the hardest of the week, even harder than Ole Miss Georgia or South Carolina Vandy. This one I think is the hardest one of the week for me to pick, mainly because these teams have both shown many flaws. These teams have both had very good performances, both very bad performances. They both had performances that are worthy of definitely a playoff spot, and both of not a team that should be in the playoff. That being said, LSU right now, they came off that loss against Texas A&M, and that was the weirdest loss I've ever seen because they started off, they were just dominating the first half of that game. I mean, just dominant. It was like, all right, they're only 1 or 2 plays away from breaking this thing open, and it's 31-3 at half. But instead, momentum shifts right before halftime, and Texas A&M comes out and dominates in the second half. Great coaching from Texas A&M. Nussmeier threw 3 picks in that game. But this game is not away. This game's at home. And so, I don't know. For me, Milroe and Nussmeier are very much the same. I feel like they're both somewhat inconsistent. And it's really who just shows up. And it really, LSU depends so much on Nussmeier. I am still I'm struggling to pick this game. It's almost whoever starts rushing the ball better at the start is going to win this game because I feel like both quarterbacks have about the same. They're different styles, but I do feel like they both have the talent to do it. But I feel like the pass defenses for both these teams are fantastic. I just don't see one winning like by just passing the ball. I think it has to be whoever dominates at the line of scrimmage is going to be the winner of this game. It's going to be a close game. But I'm going to be taking Alabama in this game. I almost hate to say it. I kind of was thinking the whole week I was going to pick LSU, and I'm going to take Alabama and the Crimson Tide. I think the board does get the win, but then again, that's a tough task at night.
Did you say what the score is going to be? What do you think? You got one?
I think it's actually a fairly low scoring game in the sense of it's not high scoring. I would say it's 24-21 Bama, 24-17 Bama.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I, like Sky, I'm going to take LSU in this one. But Chase also said something I was thinking. LSU is one of the worst rushing teams in the nation, and Bama's also like a top 20 rush defense. And you can't just rely on Nussmeier the whole time, and that's known. That's the same for Bama. We've seen both quarterbacks make mistakes on the road, but I think the difference in this one is that LSU has like a 12% sack rate right now, 11% something. And we've seen when Milroe gets pressure put on him, Bama just does not look good at all. To where, especially at home, the crowd will be fired up. LSU fans know like they're right there to make the SEC championship. To where I'm taking LSU in this one in a night.
I'm telling you right now, I am surprised the spread's where it's at.
Yeah,
I am very surprised. What is it, 6.5? You said
it's 3 for Bama.
3 for Bama. I'm surprised Bama is favored at all. I thought it was going to be even spread or -1 LSU or something super close.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
All right. Now for the game everyone has been waiting for. We got a Utah student and a BYU student.
Let's go.
Maybe I should say my take first. I don't even know where to even begin with this.
I'd love to go last. That's okay.
All right. You can go last.
Okay, buddy.
Chase, you want to go first?
No, sure, I'll go first.
All right.
Well, I got a lot of thoughts. I mean, you guys know who I'm going to pick, but Here, okay. I got so many thoughts. I haven't even put them together because I have too many. I'm usually trying to gather thoughts before the game or before each pick. I'm like, all right, what can I talk about here? Okay, that's a good stat. This one, it's an overload of information about both teams. I have way too much about both teams. I know too much about both teams to think straight. I can't think straight. It's been like this for 2 weeks. It's eating me from the inside, this game. But I will say, you guys watch college football enough to know that it seems like whenever a team is supposed to win, and especially whenever they're supposed to win in every aspect of the game, especially when it's a rivalry game, when it's like, all right, no, they've got a leg up on this. They have a leg up on this. They have a leg up on this. There's no way they sack. The rush defense is not good at all. And this team's really good at rush defense or rushing the ball. It just everything is going perfectly in BYU's way that Utah might win this game. So I'm going to be picking BYU, obviously. I will be there, and I will be cheering, maybe getting beat up. Just as a fan, maybe Skyler will come beat me up. Yeah. But I'm so excited for this game. I'm nervous for this game. That's why rivalries are great. I hate this game, and that's why I love it. I will give you a stance from BYU fans about this game. I'm not talking about stats anymore. I think everyone knows. Most people who are watching this game know what the stats are. Utah has looked the worst they've looked in several years, and BYU's looked the best they've looked in several years. So that just says it enough. But this game, like I said before, is probably the biggest game in BYU football history of the last 20 years. I would say this game is the biggest because BYU has everything to lose, and Utah has nothing to lose. Utah has nothing to lose. If Utah wins this game, they could probably make a bowl game. They will make a bowl game. They have a hard stretch, super hard stretch. If they lose this game, I don't know. 4-5. I don't. You'll probably give an opinion on this guy. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm taking BYU. I think they have every reason to win this game. I mean, I think Utah's offense has no business throwing the ball to BYU at all. I think it's going to come down to Michael Bernard. He's the X factor. If he can rush the ball, we might have a game. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. BYU's defense is extremely good at getting to the quarterback and creating turnovers via. I mean, there's a lot of fumbles from the quarterbacks as well as interceptions. But we know that Utah tends to win the turnover battle in this game between BYU and Utah. So we will see. I'm picking BYU, but you guys, I'm gonna quit talking.
All right,
you guys
I'll keep it quick for Sky. Let him spiel about his Utes. But like Chase said, when it's like this, when a team has nothing to lose, like Utah right now, started 4-0, injuries kind of hurt them, then lost 4 straight, including Houston, which was just bad. Respectfully, Sky,
it was terrible.
That was awful.
Killed myself.
But Utah has nothing to lose. Like, this is make or break. Like, if they win this, they'll be in a bowl game. All the morale will be back. Offensive coordinator. There's a lot of problems, and Utah has a 13th ranked stop rate right now, so their defense is great. Their defense is good. They're holding opponents. They've held a lot
Despite everything that's going on, the defense is still very good.
Yeah, they've held common opponents to less points than BYU has, to where it's a night game at Rice Eccles.
No way.
8:15. Give me the Utes. Give me the Utes for the upset.
Oh, frick you, bro.
Welcome. I like you. We could be buddies after this.
I feel like we can be great
We should
friends.
hang out. We should do this. Well, is it my turn? Am I ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got your spotlight.
Man,
my
I'm
friend.
okay. So I'm really biased. Obviously, I run a football account where I have to try and be as unbiased as possible. But as humans, that's impossible.
It's physically impossible.
It's physically impossible. I grew up in Provo, Utah. I went to Timpview High School. All my best friends are BYU fans. I remember in elementary school, I would get bullied for being a Utah fan. And it was so sad. I remember.
Well, if you guys don't know, Timpview High School is kind of a big feeder high school for BYU football. That is of course, there's something about Utah, but this is like Provo.
It's pipeline. Yeah, it's pipeline straight to BYU, except Britton Covey.
Yeah.
My all-time favorite player, except Britton Covey. So it's a big game for me. Like, I remember I would go home, like, we would win games and my friends would still make fun of me. So it's just like, no matter what, I just didn't have a good time. That's in the past, though. That was in 6th grade. That's a little different. I'm 21 now, so it's a little different. But emotion aside, BYU is the better team this year. Like, obviously, most definitely, they're 9-0 right now. I was watching the Oklahoma State game, and biasly, I wanted them to lose that game. But they didn't. And the reason why they won that game is because they're the best team in the Big 12 right now. They are, if they get takeaways, they easily win games. They turn turnovers into touchdowns like no other. It's the reason why they killed Kansas State that one game. The reason why there was a burrito shoved up someone's, I won't say it, but shoved up someone's you know what. So, I mean, BYU's, they're a fun team to watch. I think they'll be, they should be a playoff team. It's going to be a really good game. But,
I mean, you're saying after this week, they're still going to be a playoff team?
Oh, let's go.
No way.
Go, Utes! Go, Utes! Go, Utes! Woo!
Yes,
Oh, my gosh, bro.
It's like Twitch, so you can't see it. But give me the Utes. I just don't.
Yes.
I'm a big Utah fan. I will never vote for BYU. I'm so sorry. It's going to be a very, very hard game to win. Like we said, like you guys said, it's kind of our Super Bowl. Like we don't really have anything going for us this season. We might get the Idaho Potato Bowl this year. So I'm rooting for it, but we got to win this game. So I think Utah's winning this one.
Yeah,
that's that damn field after.
Yeah, I mean, you did a pretty good job, and that's pretty unbiased, I would say, like to a degree. Like trying to stay unbiased. There's no such thing as unbiased. There's just trying to restrain bias.
Yeah,
I think you did a pretty good job.
It's possible.
But I mean, it's gonna be a good game. I mean, no matter what, that's gonna be a close game. BYU Utah is statistically one of the closest rivalries in college football. If you don't know about the Holy War, you really should get educated because this is simply not a. I would argue this is a top 7 rivalry in college football, and that is like completely unbiased. Like this, I do know more about this rivalry, but this rivalry does not get enough credit, and now it is finally a Power 4 rivalry for the first time in history. So I mean, it means more. I do want to comment. People have been asking, like, is this a Super Bowl for both teams? Oh yeah, it is. I don't think it matters what. Yeah, it doesn't matter if Utah's 11-0 and playing BYU.
Does not matter.
5-7. It doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
Even if BYU, they might have bigger aspirations this year. Oh yeah, like we got a Big 12 championship in the back of our mind, but this is still the Super Bowl. I keep on telling people this. I do not mean this this is not satire. This makes or breaks the season. BYU 11-1. It might sound toxic. I mean, to the players, you can't act like this. You got to still win games after this. But like, the season is almost thrown away. It doesn't. If you are 11-1, let's say you go to the playoff, but you lose to Utah, it doesn't even matter. Like, what'd you do this year? You lost to Utah. Doesn't matter. That's what it means. It means so much more. It means more. It is too much. The game is a Super Bowl for both teams. If you don't think it's BYU Super Bowl because you're like, well, they have bigger ass. No, it's the Super Bowl. It's the biggest game of the year. Don't care.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, Field Rush, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I try to be I'm not. I didn't really try to be unbiased. I'm a bias.
Picks are your bias.
We both have bias when it comes to picks for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. Everyone does.
But no.
One thing we always say is like that's what this isn't the NFL where you just like, well, the standings say that. No. What's a ranking? It's your bias. That's what it is.
Yeah. No.
college football is built on bias. You just gotta control it.
You gotta break this.
It's just gotta be controlled. And I think you did a good job.
No, you brought the energy. You were excited. You brought some stats to where everyone go follow Field Rush, arguably one of the best college football accounts on Instagram.
Love you guys.
Everyone go follow if you don't already.
Yeah, Field Rush has been there since the start, man. Since we started, been there. I can't remember. I think I started Showtime. I think you were at like 3,000 followers or something like that. It was
a while ago.
Was a while ago.
Yeah. What a time. What a time. It's been a roller coaster.
Yeah. But if you guys, I'm sure you guys already follow him. So we almost don't even need to give you a shout out. But yeah, anyways, it was great having Field Rush on here. Can't wait to see how the picks pan out. Hope to have you on again. Hope to have you on again. And go Cougs.
Thanks, fellas. Rush that damn field. And as always, go Utes. Love you guys.
Sir. Yes,
sir. See ya.
Have a good one, guys.
All right. Well, that was wonderful. That was was great, especially I think for this episode with BYU Utah playing this week. I think it was good that you guys just didn't hear from me. You heard it from both sides.
That was fun.
And I think you did a good job. You can't really point to too many stats that are in Utah's favor. There are a couple. But really, the thing that's going for Utah is the fact that BYU has everything to lose.
Yep.
And no discredit to Utah, but that's really what you have, and that's what BYU has most times.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that it's like I know what it feels like to be that where it's I don't care how bad we are. We just if Utah beats BYU, the season's still a success. It does not matter. Many of you who have big rivals in college football, you know this. I mean, I would take a 2-win team every year if we beat Utah. To a degree, it'd be great.
No, I'm the same way. As long as we beat Oregon State and Washington, great season for me. That's all I care about.
You could literally have 3 wins and you'd be like, well, no one can talk smack. And that's the thing. I will never live it down. I will cry myself to sleep for many nights in a row. I'll still be crying. We get on the podcast. We'll record Sunday night, Monday morning. I'll just have tears in my eyes. I'll still be crying.
Season's just over. Season's ruined. Chase will look like
Showtime's done.
I'm going to fully take over. He's dropping out of college football. Never going to watch it again.
No, never. But you guys know, I watch college football for more than just BYU. And you guys know this because half the reason I started Showtime College Football, half the reason I love college football is because there were many times where my team wasn't very good. And I said, hey, wait, there's other teams I should watch. Oh, yeah. It's not just BYU. There's plenty of other teams to watch. So, that's why Showtime really started. That's why it was frankly, BYU sucked so bad. Well, horribly. I might be, but we weren't very good that first year. I barely even mentioned BYU on the podcast because we weren't even worth mentioning.
It's true.
Like I literally didn't. People didn't know that I was a BYU fan because I didn't talk about it. And everyone this year thinks I'm biased towards BYU. You guys talk about BYU so much. Like, yeah, because I finally can.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, last year I think I mentioned BYU on the podcast like once, maybe twice, just for funsies to say like, oh yeah, we're playing. Can't wait for this game at Oklahoma State. Probably gonna lose. I'm sure maybe it was mentioned once or twice. But let's get to our playoff rankings reactions, Chase. We talked about it last night on the live, but not everyone saw the live. Shout out to many of you who did. We did have quite a bit of viewers on there. I'm sure half of you watched that. But we got some interesting picks. Now I do say one thing I didn't mention in the live stream. Let's start from the very bottom. Mizzou is still ranked. Chase, how do you feel about that one?
I don't know why they're ranked, bro. Just look at their schedule.
Give me a reason. You got any reason?
I don't have a reason.
Oh, okay.
Luther Burden came in. Everyone's like, oh, best receiver. He hasn't done anything. I would take multiple receivers. I could probably name 10 if I wanted to that I would take over him.
Not to mention that Brady Cook. I mean, despite fighting injury, I know that. But he's not playing very good.
Yeah. Well, and then I'm happy you put Louisville above Clemson. That makes sense. But I feel like South Carolina or Vandy should be ranked if Missouri is. I don't get how Missouri is ranked when Missouri got killed.
Missouri did beat Vandy, but yeah, I get your point.
Yeah, Missouri beat Vandy in overtime. This was still week 4, week 3?
Yeah, week 4.
But when they have pretty much, Vandy has one more loss, but Vandy's one more loss was to the now number 5 team, Texas, by 3. Mm-hmm. And Missouri stayed in, and this is AP. So, not related, but still, they were still ranked. They stayed in when they got killed by Bama, to where I don't really know what the voters are seeing in Missouri right now. But
Yeah, I mean, the committee, per usual, to me, just seems like they're not really sticking to. And you can use several different metrics, that's fine, but it doesn't really seem like they're sticking proportionally to different metrics. It seems like for some teams, they're like, well, no. This quality win way outweighs everything. But then the same level of quality win for another team in the same situation doesn't do anything. So we'll get to all these picks here. Clemson, of course, comes in right behind Louisville, which I think was good. I think Clemson, frankly, I was surprised that they were a little bit low. Now, do I agree with their pick? Yes, I think that's actually a great spot for them. 23. They haven't beat anyone good. I think 23 is perfect. And frankly, I'm just surprised they put them that low, being the playoff committee, as they love brands. No disrespect, but it just seems like they always pick the big brands because they're big brands. But yeah, they put them right behind Louisville, and I feel like the reason they did put Clemson so low is so they could slide Louisville, boop, right on top of them. So, yeah, let's keep going down the list. What you got, Chase?
All right, let's take a look here. Something that jumps out at me. I love Wazoo at 21. Kirk Herbstreit had a little segment on them, and they also did on the selection show. They have to win. They pretty much have to be at large, like top 11. I like that. I like Kansas State over Colorado. Now, this is one, I mean, I'm sure Chase feels the same way. I don't really know why Pitt is 18. Right now, yes, they have one loss, but their one loss was to the one good team they played. And they kind of, safe way to put it, got killed. I mean, Pitt killed Syracuse, but I mean, take away those first quarter mistakes by McCord, and it's a close game. I mean, obviously you can. It's like McCord did what he did to where you can't really say that. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they beat Cal by 2, which I guess is about the same as Miami. And then the rest of their wins just aren't great. They beat a very mid Cincinnati and West Virginia team by less than 1 point and 4 points, to where I don't know what the committee is seeing in Pitt to have them at 18.
Yeah, I think they deserve to be ranked, but I just don't see 18. 18, I feel like, is extremely generous.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It does have help SMU's case, as they are ranked 13, which I actually do quite like. Obviously, I do like that as a BYU fan, but I do think SMU deserves it. I mean, I think they have pretty much just dominated, except for the Duke game. They've pretty much dominated everyone they've played against, and including 18th ranked pick, 19th ranked Pitt. So I do like that ranking there. But let's keep going down.
All right, 17 Iowa State. I'm all right with that. You know,
a little low, but I agree with it.
Okay. 14 through 17, I like the placement. A&M over LSU, fair. They beat A&M beat LSU. LSU beat Ole Miss. You know, I feel like 14, 15, 16 makes sense. All those teams still competing for the SEC championship. Boise State, let's do 10, 11, 12. Notre Dame, Bama, Boise. Chase, how are you feeling about that?
I do think it's hard to say about the Boise one, because I feel like Boise, granted, you can't make a crazy case for them to be over Bama. We have them over Bama and Notre Dame.
No, we have Notre Dame over them.
Okay, who do we have? We have them at 10. So who are they below?
Penn State.
Oh, Penn State.
We have them above Penn State.
We'll get to Penn State in a minute. That's an interesting one. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, like, well, they're better than Bama. But Boise State's wins really aren't that great. I mean, their best win now is Washington State, which they killed. So, I mean, that win looks really good right now. It didn't look very good a few weeks ago, but now they're just the remaining schedule. They don't play anybody. San Jose State's decent. They're okay. They've done well in the Mountain West, but it's Nevada, at San Jose State, at Wyoming versus Oregon State. So basically, Boise State's running the table. And I don't know if they're going to get much higher as far as the playoff goes than 10.
Yeah.
I don't think they have capacity with the schedule. I don't care how good they are. They can kill everybody, and I don't think they're going to go much higher. I don't think they can.
Everyone else would have to lose. Like, if Bama loses this week, then I feel like LSU would just kind of jump above Boise, you know?
Yeah.
To where, I don't know. Yeah. It's tough. There'd have to be some chaos for them to break the top 10, like you said. I agree. Yeah. I feel like they'll kind of just keep them at that 12 spot as the group of 5, low-key.
Yeah. I think Notre Dame being at 10 is not the worst thing I've seen. People are not happy that Notre Dame is floating in the playoff after losing to NIU. I agree. I only agree with the NIU part. I do think that they've done good enough to be considered The Texas A&M win looks good, even though it's not quite the same team. But the problem is here's my one thing. If you want to argue that they beat Texas A&M, you have to argue they lost to NIU. That's more recent. And I find that a lot of people are like, well, but they beat Texas A&M, who's really good now. I'm like, yes, true, they are really good now. But they also lost to NIU. Like, well, that was a long time ago. No, it was sooner than Texas A&M, or sooner than the Aggies win. So it's hard for me to rank Notre Dame because they also haven't really beaten anybody. Resume seems like I know it's a thing every year, but it feels like it's a pretty big problem this year. We are only 8 weeks, or most teams have only played 8 or 9 games. Still a few more weeks, but I mean, look at Notre Dame's remaining schedule. They got 4 more games left. They play Florida State, okay, Virginia, both those games at home, by the way, Army, and then at USC. So the last 2 games are slightly better, but they're gonna end the season, Notre Dame, with their best win being Louisville and Texas A&M,
or
maybe Army.
Yeah,
I mean the Navy win was decent, but Navy, I mean yes, but maybe I'm not giving enough credit. Maybe Smash It Sports, Cody over there, Irish fan's gonna kill me for this. I don't know. It's hard, but at the same time, you always have to consider. I hate people do this on our comment sections, like drop Notre Dame. Like, well, I don't know who to put them below because I feel like Bama's also had the terrible loss, and Boise State, lost to Oregon, but they haven't really beaten anybody. And so it brings you the question, like, well, I can tell you one thing: they should be higher than Penn State. Even Notre Dame, I feel like should be higher than Penn State.
Yeah.
But quality losses, Notre Dame. Yeah, but quality wins. Quality schedule. So I think it is important that we talk about Penn State. Chase, actually, I guess, do you want to give your thoughts on Notre Dame?
You did good. I mean, like you said, NIU loss is hard to look over right now, but at the same time, since then they've kind of dominated every game to where
look good. They've done very well.
For me, I'm kind of fine with them right there. Maybe move Bama and Boise above them, maybe SMU, but I do think they deserve 10 to 14, 10 to 15 range. I think they're fine right there. So
yeah. And we knew this would be a struggle coming into the season. I remember calling this first week. I was like, Notre Dame has the weakest schedule in the country. One of them, not the weakest, but they have a pretty weak schedule as a Power 5 team considered. And we knew it'd be when they lost that game to NIU. I was like, all right, they're out of the playoff. They don't beat anybody else, but they've done convincingly enough that I guess they're being considered, and I am okay with them actually being top 12 right now.
Yeah, completely agree. All right, this next portion is, and we called it on our podcast earlier with Carter Cast, 6 through 9 is just, you honestly, for me, you could really mix it up any way, and I'd kind of be like, it is what it is. We have
Why don't you read it? Yeah.
Penn State 6, Tennessee 7, Indiana 8, BYU 9. I don't know really what to feel about this. I know a lot of people think BYU got robbed, and I do agree with them, and everyone knows my bias shows I do not like BYU. Picked Utah for a reason today. I would probably put Penn State at 9 and then move everyone up 1. So Tennessee 6, Indiana 8. Honestly, I'd switch BYU and Indiana. Indiana has looked dominant in every game. I will say that. Lethal offense, but BYU has the resume, and that's something that obviously I don't think the committee's really put into this ranking. This ranking seems more as eye test to me. There is some resume, but there's some parts where it's like, okay, if it's resume, then this team should be over. Where I would go Tennessee 6, BYU 7, Indiana 8, Penn State 9. Penn State 9 mainly because I talked about this on the podcast earlier. Like I said, they didn't score an offensive touchdown this week. And you honestly probably shouldn't be top 10 if you can't score an offensive touchdown at home as the number 3 team in the country. I'm sorry. I don't really care.
Doesn't matter who you're playing. Shouldn't matter who you're playing.
Ohio State. Every home team Ohio State's played on the road has scored a touchdown. Oregon scored 4 touchdowns. I don't care to where Penn State should be able to score points if they want, in my consideration, to be a top 10 team. Chase, you can take the floor.
Yeah. I just think Penn State is, I would say 9's generous. I think 12. I think they're hanging on by a thread to a playoff spot. But no, Chase, they're 8-1 though. They were undefeated before this week, and their loss is only to Ohio State. Please let me know who they've beaten that's decent. I'll wait. Oh, Illinois. Come on. All right, let's be real here. They beat them by a touchdown or 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns because they threw a late pick 6.
But they beat USC in overtime. Okay. Who else? Well, that's kind of where it dries up. So that's what I'm talking about. When you look at Penn State, you could throw Army in the same schedule and be like, Army's so bad, bro. They have played nobody. It's like, yeah, they have. And that's why they're ranked 25th. And so I feel like 12 is generous to point Penn State. I feel like being 12 is like, you're welcome. You've played nobody and you're still being ranked 12th with a loss at home to Ohio State. So I'd say 12 for Penn State, 11 or 12. That's what I have them at. And frankly, they're not getting respect because they haven't earned much respect from me. I don't think they deserve a ton of respect the way they handled the Ohio State game. And so, yeah, we've talked about it a little bit already in our reactions, but yeah, I don't think they deserve tons of respect. I don't like people ranking them anywhere close to 7 or above. 6 is shocking to me. Number 6 is crazy because it's like what, and they don't have eye test or resume going for them. To me, they don't have either, frankly. So, surprising pick to me. But Indiana, I think you guys would think, okay, well, you're a BYU fan, you're probably pissed about this. Yeah, I mean, I think BYU could be higher, but I'm actually not that mad about it. I don't think Boise State's going to be passing BYU. I know Greg McElroy went off about that on the thing, got everyone riled up. Like, Boise State could be passing BYU if they're on the tail and BYU loses. They should be scared. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think a one-loss BYU team is going to be passed by a 12-1 Boise State team that their best win is Washington State or Texas Tech. I don't think they would do that. I hope they wouldn't do that. And so I think you pump the brakes. You got some good games ahead of you of your BYU, and I think you'll be getting more respect soon. I don't think it's a huge deal. I think Indiana, I think BYU should be above Indiana. I do think that, but Indiana, I think, should still be there. Right at 8. I think BYU should be at 7, and I think Penn State should be kicked out. Tennessee at 6. So,
yeah,
that's what I got. That's what I got, man.
And then the top 5, I'm fine with. I'm perfectly fine with the top 5 right now.
Yeah. The only real shocking move is Miami's over Texas. Neither of those teams have a resume as of right now. And Ohio State beat out Georgia. Ohio State's second. Do you think they earned that, Chase?
Yeah. I mean, Georgia, that loss to Bama, it's not the exact same. I can't really say that, but the Bama loss doesn't look the best based on how Bama's played since the first quarter of that game, pretty much. And I mean, Ohio State did just go on the road and beat Penn State, held them to, like I said, no offense pretty much. And then their one loss is 1 point to the number 1 team in the country, to where personally, yeah, I think Oregon, Ohio State 1-2 is fine. And yeah, Miami, Texas. I think Miami kind of just jumped Texas just because undefeated. They don't really have a resume. Texas is one team they've played that's good as Georgia. Kind of got killed and they were at home, to where, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, that's one of the things that was brought up. I mean, you look at Texas and BYU. I know you're like, what? No way. And then you start looking at the schedule. You're like, oh, yeah. I mean, Texas hasn't really. Oh, yeah. I guess Texas hasn't really beaten anybody. I mean, I know Michigan and Oklahoma have a lot of talent, but they're not very good. So there's a debate where it's like, I think Indiana and BYU, you could rate them above Texas and Miami. And I'd almost be satisfied with that. So I think BYU, Indiana, Miami should be more closer together, if anything. So at least the criteria is the same.
Yeah.
If you're going to rank Miami at 4, then BYU, Indiana should be up there. If not, Miami should be at 7 with BYU and Indiana. That's just what's going through my head right now. But Miami's a bigger brand, more flashy, so they get to be number 4, I guess. Even though they've dominated much less, they've won closer games against worse opponents. So likely they should be ahead, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
And Oregon number 1. Chase, do you have any thoughts about your Ducks being number 1 in the first college football playoff rankings? I think it's your first ever number 1 rank in the CFP, right?
Yeah, because the last time we were number 1 was 2012, and CFP didn't exist yet. I'm fine with it. I'm happy. I think most people knew Oregon would be 1. They're unanimous in the AP. I think most people would have them as number 1. Me personally, something that's funny to me is people are like, well, everyone looks beatable, but then they say how Oregon is like the most complete team. And they're probably the least beatable. I'm like, Kayla, you just said everyone's beatable. I mean, like, I don't know. It's just weird. People are just saying stuff to talk. I don't even know. But I'm fine with it. Everyone knows I'm a huge Duck fan. I'll always cheer for my Ducks no matter what. Ducks are my life, to where I'm more than happy. I was hyped to see it. But yeah, I think we've looked dominant every week since those first two games. I've said it before. I think if we played Boise State again, it would be a completely different game. I think we'd win by at least 10. And we've talked about it. Even Chase has said, as a neutral, we look better each week, both sides of the ball. Dan,
great teams fix mistakes.
Yes, and we've won close games in Ohio State and Boise State. We've pulled through when we needed to. You know, we went into the Big House. I mean, Michigan's not a great team, but we silenced the Big House pretty quickly. Went up 28-7 super fast, to where, yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, I will say that is one thing for Texas I didn't mention. I mean, when they beat Michigan, I'm not taking away the win. They still win and they're dominating Michigan just like Oregon did. But just that win shouldn't be classified as a top 25 win right now.
Yeah.
And I think most people would agree with that. But you know, guys, I mean, we got such a great week ahead of us. Other games we didn't talk about that are interesting: Florida versus Texas. Florida, you know, could pull off something. This is a great game. This is a great game for Texas to prove people wrong and splatter them. Texas is favored by 21 points. I'm actually surprised it's that much. I feel like Florida's kind of getting disrespected with that line a little bit.
Yeah,
well,
it's
21.5 is a lot.
I mean, Florida State hasn't been able to score 3 touchdowns, so
that's true. Yeah, Michigan travels to Indiana. I mean, Indiana's the better team here, but Michigan's got, I mean, objectively a lot more talent. I mean, you never know. Michigan could get their act together and win this game, cancel out Indiana. We'll see. Iowa State goes to Kansas. Maybe not. That was all right. Maryland goes to Oregon. Mississippi State goes to Tennessee. Mississippi State's been actually 0-5 in the SEC, but they could score a few points there. You never know what can happen. Tennessee's shown weaknesses. Washington goes to Penn State in a night-out game. Exciting for there. Virginia goes to Pittsburgh. Virginia, not so bad. Utah State goes to Washington State. Oklahoma goes to Missouri. Not a bad
that's
game.
An interesting game.
I wonder if Missouri gets a reality check there. Florida State, we thought it was going to be one of the biggest games of the year. Florida State goes to Notre Dame. Huge game. Huge implications for Florida State as they seek to go 2-8 if they win this game.
Yeah. Florida State, man, I don't even.
What's funny about Florida State is they're not only losing games, they're like getting blasted. I mean, it's just like it's not even close. It's insane.
Yeah, it's like I said, they can't even score points. So
it's I feel so bad for you guys. Like, it's just like they are getting torn apart, and they have what's crazy is that it's not like Florida State's like, well, yeah, they had their year, bro. Florida State recruits with the big dogs a lot of the times. I mean, they're top 25, top 15 in most recruiting cycles. Like, where's all this talent at right now? What's going on? There's no way you're telling me the guys from Duke are coming in and beating you without even a skip of the beat, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, completely agree.
Anyways, guys, we're yawning. We're tired. This podcast was sponsored by CFB Team Fantasy. And we're so grateful for them. But this podcast, we wanted to quickly talk about before we head out. We've got a few interesting states. If you guys been listening to us for a while, CFB Team Fantasy, you pick teams, not players, meaning that you draft teams at the start of the year and you project their win total, and the team that wins the state in terms of wins the state, and it's done by how many colleges are in each state. So North Carolina has like 8 FBS colleges. That's worth a ton. The team with the most wins in that state wins the state. And so we wanted to point out some that are kind of interesting. Florida, of course, one of many. Who'd we pick to win Florida, Chase?
Florida State, and that went really well.
Sure did. Now the leader of Florida is Miami, emphatically. Now, we didn't think Miami would be good, but we were like, nah, I think Florida State's probably going in 10-2, 11-1. They're the exact opposite of that. They're probably going 1-11 or 2-10, ironically enough. And Florida will probably finish in the middle of the pack. Utah is another surprising one. Of course, we thought University of Utah was for sure 10 wins or above. I thought 10 was the floor for the University of Utah. And it turns out BYU is, I mean, I don't know. I think it's sealed. BYU already won the state. Utah could not have enough wins to win that one. So BYU comes off with the upset in the state of Utah. There are some others that were interesting. Chase, you got any others?
I'm trying to think. Oklahoma, just in general, is very, very strange. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State both were projected pretty high. I think 8.5, 9.5 wins.
They sure were.
And now it's not really looking good for either of them.
How many wins does Tulsa have?
I don't even know.
Tulsa's not been so good the last few seasons.
Oklahoma football is just in the dumpster right now for any school.
Whole state.
Tulsa
for those guys
is they have
they're 3-6.
Green third, 13th in the American.
Ironically enough, OU might win that conference. It's kind of surprising, man. I am surprised that that's happening right now.
What conference? Oh yeah, Oklahoma. Yeah. So yeah, everyone go check out CFB Team Fantasy, where you draft teams, not players. They've been great.
Players.
They've been with us since the beginning, so shout out to them. They've been a huge.
Also, another big one I forgot to say is San Jose State might take California.
Yeah,
over Fresno and USC.
That's the big one right there.
That's the big one. Arizona State might overcome Arizona.
Yeah.
Wazoo. Sorry for the phone call there. Sad.
Sorry, my bad.
No,
yes. My bad.
I mean, Washington might be taken by Wazoo. Probably will.
Probably, honestly.
Like almost every state is not who we thought it was going to be. Like almost every time. It's kind of insane. Texas A&M does have a chance to steal it from Texas. They have a chance.
That's true. It'll come down to that game. Texas A&M, Texas Lone Star Showdown.
Believe it or not, Louisiana could be the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Our favorite Sun Belt team this year. Or Tulane. Tulane's 7-2. So Louisville's heating up. Every race is heating up. Be sure to check it out.
Yes, everyone check out CFB Team Fantasy.
They've been with us since the start. I mean, since the start of the season, and it's been really fun to check our scores throughout the season, see how I'm doing in my leagues. And many of you joined. I'm sure almost all of you are in a league right now if you were listening to the start of the season, which is awesome. But yeah, go download the app CFB Team Fantasy. Draft teams, not players. But we got an exciting week this week. Went over the games already. Upsets could be off the rails. We'll see. I mean, I know Ole Miss is only favored or only underdog by 2.5, but that would sure be an upset. I don't know. 2.5 to me is actually kind of wild. We already talked about it, but that would be an upset.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of those 2.5, 3.5 games that me and Chase both picked the underdog, I guess you could consider. So
we picked a lot of underdogs this week. Yeah. What games did we differentiate on? I mean, BYU, Utah. I picked Bama. You picked LSU.
I think that was it. I think everything else we were the same. I don't know. Texas Tech, I did say them, I will say, but I may switch to Colorado. I don't know. I'm starting to think more about it in the back of my mind. So we'll see. But yeah, everything else we have the same.
Conference races are heating up. I cannot wait to see what happens in the Big 12 as well as the ACC. We've got 2 clear-cut teams in the ACC, but it's not all over yet because there are several one-loss teams that could make a claim for the throne. And the Big 10, right now it's set for Indiana and Oregon. Also, that's another one, CFB Team Fantasy. Indiana. Who thought Indiana was going to take that over Notre Dame?
Yeah, no, not many people.
That's an interesting one.
It's still close.
It's still close. I mean, Notre Dame only has 1 loss. So, I mean, it could still go either way, but that's insane. That's insane. The state of Iowa is going to go to probably Iowa State. So not many people thought that. I thought that, but not many people thought that. Thank you. Get my flowers. But the Big 10 race, I think, is actually one of the most interesting ones. Is Indiana plays Ohio State in like 2 weeks. I would say don't sleep though, because Michigan could be Indiana. This is like probably their best opponent they've played. They played Washington. They played Nebraska, but I think Michigan's probably the most talented team they've played. Best defense they've played.
Yeah, completely agree. So yeah, it'll be a big test for them. It'll be a test. A lot of football still have to be played. So anyone mad with their team's ranking or just the rankings in general, it'll all sort itself out. Just give it time.
It'll be okay.
I'm sure these last 4 or 5 weeks will be pretty crazy. And conference championships will have implications too, to where just be patient. It'll happen.
Just remember, you're not in the MAC, where the best MAC team is 6-3.
Yeah. Hey, shout out Maction though. Never
I love
forget.
Maction, but Maction's a little bit more dry than it usually is this year. Also, shout out Colorado State for being 4-0 in conference. Maybe they're the team that Boise State plays. Maybe they knock them off, and Army goes to the CFP. You never know. I mean, Boise State just needs to lose the conference championship game, and it's anyone's ball game for that spot.
Yeah.
Because
Completely
then
agree.
people might say, well, no, Boise State might still be higher ranked than Army at that point, even if they lose. No, they won't. Because, well, they might be higher ranked, but they won't because they're not a conference champion. They'd be ranked 18 and not a conference champions. Maybe they get knocked out. So there's still a lot of what I mean is there's still a lot of football to be played. I just merged that. What I mean is that there's still a lot of football to be played. Man, more football, dude. More football this week. Long podcast for you guys. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you guys next time on Show
Time.
College
Love
Football.
football.
Woo! Thanks for joining us today, boys. Solid pod.
Super solid.